Hi, ladies. It's Cherise from Holding Hope. Wow, I have so much I want to talk to you about today. So I'm going to try to get through it without it being too long. Last week, I asked my husband to watch the video that I made on marriage. And at the end, he said, "That was all really good. The only thing I wonder about is how long it is." And if anybody knows my husband, if you know Mike, then I'll just pause right there so you can laugh about that statement from him. But anyways, I don't want it to be too long. So I think the point of me wanting to do videos is because you don't necessarily have to watch. You can be doing other things at home and just listen to it. So just remember that if you don't have the time to actually sit down and watch something, you can always just listen to my videos while you're folding laundry or while you're doing dishes or making dinner, whatever the case may be. So anyways, I am going to be a little bit raw today with you guys, a little bit more real. It isn't something that I wanted to do. I always want to portray like I got it all together, and shouldn't I have it all together because I'm married to a pastor and I should be so godly and never have any issues. But that's not real life. That's not how things are. And so I felt like I needed to be real with you guys today when I'm talking about the things that I'm going to talk about. And that is fear and worry. And I just always want my life to be a reflection of God's glory. And so I do get concerned that something that my life would do would give Jesus a bad name. And I don't ever want to do that. But I also feel like I need to be truthful and not act like I always have it together, because we never do. We're not perfect. Only God is perfect. And so that's why I wanted to be real with you today. Just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that life is always going to be a bed of roses, because it's not. I have been through some tremendous pain and heartache. I've been through fear. I've been through loneliness. All of these things are normal. They're human. We are humans, and that is why we need God so much in our life. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about today is how real is God to you in your life when it comes to things that you worry about and things that you fear. So, as you know, maybe you don't know, but my daughter Andrea found out, I think a week and a half ago now, that maybe a week ago, that her baby is breech. And a lot of things can go through a mama's mind when you hear, the baby's breech. You might have to have a C-section. If we can't turn the baby, we might have to take you into emergency surgery, and all these things can really worry you and create fear. And knowing that my daughter was scared, that made that problem even more prominent in my mind this week. It was something that was constantly at the forefront of my thoughts, something that I was always meditating on, thinking about. And so it got me thinking about how often we worry and we fear about things, and don't really put our faith and trust in God and His plan and the control that He has over our lives. And I used to think that I had pretty strong faith, and then everything for me kind of changed, and I know it did for a lot of you when COVID happened. I just couldn't believe the amount of fear that I had over that whole situation. But one of the main things that scared me was the fear for my dad. My dad had a lot of health issues. He had heart problems. He had had a stroke. He had kidney failure. And so I was very, very concerned that I did not want him to get COVID. And I did everything I could to protect him. I wouldn't go over to his house. I stayed in my house. I stayed away. I think for 3 months straight, we didn't get to see each other. And I'm not saying here that you shouldn't be careful in situations like that. Yes, you should. You shouldn't just be flippant and say, well, God will take care of me, so I can just do whatever I want. No, God expects us to do our part too. But what was wrong in the situation was how scared I allowed myself to be, how much fear and worry I had over that situation. What if my dad gets COVID? What if my dad gets COVID? It consumed me. It was on my mind all the time. I was so worried about him. And then finally, when it seemed like things started to calm down, I thought, well, I controlled that situation. Everything is fine. My dad is fine. And then in October, God took my dad home. And it was very unexpected. But praise the Lord that he took him in his sleep. He didn't have any pain. He didn't go through COVID. He didn't sit in a hospital all by himself. But the thing that God really taught me in that situation was that I was so consumed with one situation, dad getting COVID, that was always on my mind. And I wasn't just placing my trust in God and the plan that he had for my dad's future. And all along, God knew, Charisse, your dad's going to just go to sleep one day and wake up in my arms. And if I had just trusted him, I would have saved all those months of consuming worry and fear over something. I would have just left it with God and had a peace about it. God didn't take my dad from COVID. And I let myself worry about that for so long and just mess up my life and my mind and my heart. And God does not want us to live that way. He doesn't want us to live with that fear and worry inside of us. He has a plan. He knows what that plan is. And when there's times where we can't physically control the situation or do anything to change it, those are the times that we need to leave it with God and trust him and his plan. So I just wanted to encourage you ladies today. Don't allow worry and fear just to consume you and overtake your heart and your mind and keep you up at night. We've got to get to the place where we understand that God is in complete control. He has a plan for our lives, and there's nothing we can do to change things like death or control things like that. I mean, look at Andrea, look at my daughter, her baby is breached. There's nothing we can do to change that. God is going to have that baby flip if it's his will, and we need to understand that and stop worrying about it. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It isn't easy. Satan has a way of just getting in there and saying, yeah, God might have done it before, but he's not going to do it this time, and fool us into thinking that that's true, and it's not. I don't even know how many times God has come through in my life, but then when a crisis hits, I immediately forget about all those other times. So I want to encourage you today with a couple of things that might help if you are going through a time of worry and fear. And just like I've said in the last couple of videos, the very first thing is pray. Pray and give it to God. Just pray and ask God, God, don't let me allow the devil to fool me into thinking that you're not going to be there for me, to fool me into thinking that you don't love me and that you're not going to take care of me. Don't let him keep me up at night worrying about something that you have control over. So you know what? We need to pray. Pray, pray, pray. I cannot say that enough. Give it to God. Ask him for his power on your life with the situation. The second thing I want to say is, just like I talked about in my last video on marriage and about how when things are not the best that they could be, that I write things down that I love about Mike, the same thing is true with God. If you're having a situation where you feel like you are just worried and consumed and have fear about something, I want to challenge you to just sit down and start writing out all the times that God has come through for you in situations in your life. The little things, the big things, the things that no one else might know about. Just really ask God to bring those to the forefront of your mind and remember them and write them down. And when you start thinking about all those things, it will really change your perspective, because you'll see God has pulled you through time and time and time again. And then the last thing I want to say is to meditate on his word. You know, during times where I felt like I was hopeless, and especially during those times of COVID, you know what? God never gave up on me. He didn't say, oh, well, Sharice lost it. She lost her faith in me, so I'm just going to let her be on her own now. No, he kept after me until he brought me home again. He brought me home by meditating on his words and his promises. I would not give up. I just stayed in his word. And ladies, don't give up. Open God's word, read it, and meditate on it. Sometimes I'll take a psalm and I'll just listen to it over and over and over and over. And you know, every time I do, something new is shown to me in God's words that bless my heart. So that's something that I wanted to encourage you about too. It was really kind of cool that this week a friend of mine wrote a blog post on faith. She has a blog called Ironing the Preacher's Shirts. And it was just such awesome timing on God's part for him to send that blog post to me, because I in turn sent it to my daughter, and it really helped both of us. It was such a great reminder to us of God's faithfulness and putting our faith in him. And one of the quotes that she put in her post, I want to read to you here. It says, faith means stop trying. True faith doesn't try. It believes, it rests, it trusts. It completely relaxes in the impeccable character of God. Faith recognizes the safety of being held by our good Father. And I thought that was so good. You know, just relaxing in his presence, in his safety, knowing he is in control. That's so powerful. So I'll put that link at the bottom of this video too, in case you want to head over there and read that. And if you're listening right now and you're like, man, I don't have a relationship with God like that. I don't even know what she's talking about. I just want to encourage you to maybe go back and listen a couple of videos back I did on my own salvation experience and how God brought me to him. And it's just so important. It's so important for you guys to know that above everything else, that if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, that's the most important thing I want you to know about. And if you have any questions, I would just like to encourage you to either message me, or I can even put my phone number down if you want to text me or call. I would love to introduce you to Jesus, because you know what, you guys, there is no life like a life with Jesus. There just isn't. I don't even know how women can live without Christ in their life, because I would crumble. I'm so weak. I would just crumble. It's his strength that pulls me through every single situation. And even though I don't know the outcome of what's going to happen with Andrea's baby, I don't know if God's going to choose to flip that baby or if she's going to have a C-section. I know that God will take care of her because of his love for us, because a God that would send his son to die for my sins on a cross is a God who will take care of me. And that's the most important thing I want you guys to know. So I encourage you, don't let the devil win, ladies. Don't let the devil have control of your mind and your heart and your thoughts and allow you to become worried and fearful. Give it to God and rest in him this week. Don't forget, I'll put the links at the bottom of this if you want to read the post for this week, or if you want to read that other post that I was talking about. I am just so thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for the time that you give me on here. I hope this wasn't too long, like my husband said. And I just pray that God gives you the best week. Have a great day.